Hi, Ruthie. Welcome to the Choose Africa podcast today. I'm super happy that you're here. Do you want to say hello to everybody?
Hey Val, thank you so much for having me. I'm more than excited to have this chat with you.
So, for anybody who doesn't know who Ruthie is, she is the first summer intern at Cradle, and she's also my niece. So, this is super special to have Ruthie on our team and on our podcast. So, Ruthie, let's tell everybody how we are actually related. So, your mom is Frey, and she is the older sister to Alula, and Alula is obviously my husband. So, so Alula is your uncle. When did we meet? I think the first time we met was I came to like a holiday party when me and Alula were still dating. I think that was the first time I met you, and you were 9 years old. I do remember that.
Yeah.
So little. That's why it's so fun to have you on this. So, also, I did want to give a shout out to your mom, Frey, and to the entire family. I mean, Alula is wonderful, but I also feel like I hit the jackpot when I got all of you guys as my relatives, because you guys are like the cutest, best family ever. And shout out to your dad, of course, Testfish. So let's dive into this. The reason why I brought you on the show is because a lot of our clients, especially those people who are based in the US, businesses in the US, they have a lot of questions about Ethiopians, Ethiopian talent, what kind of education Ethiopians are getting these days. Mm-hmm. And you are a college student. So I thought you would actually be the best person to interview and to talk about that. So first of all, the first question I get is about English. And obviously you're kind of proof of how good the English is in Ethiopia. Tell everybody, when did you start taking English in school, and what was that like?
So we basically started learning English, I feel like at a very early age, mostly at kindergarten. And at high school, it was only one Amharic subject. The rest, almost 7 subjects were given in English. And in college, every course that we take is in English, no Amharic course. And so I think that gives us a great foundation of English.
That's so true. So for anybody who's listening and doesn't know, Ethiopia has about 80 languages, but one of the main ones, especially in the capital city, Addis Ababa, is called Amharic. Yeah. And so basically, Ruthie, what you're saying is starting in kindergarten, you took one class in English every year until high school, and then you only took one class in Amharic language. Everything else was in English, and now your college is entirely in English. So no wonder why you guys have such good English if you've been learning it for so long.
Yeah, we have. That's how we get basic communication skills.
Yeah, I would say more than basic. Super fluent. That's super incredible. And then one other thing I just want to say, because I think a lot of people wonder what the education system is versus American schooling. But do you remember when my sister, who is a teacher, and she was a teacher in the US, now she lives in Europe, but she came and she actually reviewed your homework. And I remember her saying that it was right on point with exactly what her students were learning.
Yeah, and she even pointed out that our teaching method was harder. She said that what I used to learn at 7th grade is what they used to teach in 9th grade. So it was a bit harder as well.
That is exactly what she said. Yeah, because she's a middle school math teacher. So what you were learning, I think you actually met her when you were in middle school. Yeah. And then she was saying that's what she would teach the 9th graders, but you were learning it in 7th grade. So shout out. I think that's one of the reasons why we always tell US clients that you should be hiring from Ethiopia or other African countries, because there's been decades of super good education. It sounds like potentially better than some places in the US. And now you're coming out of college and people want jobs. So let's talk about that. You last year, before you entered your freshman year of college, you worked for another outsourcing company. We're not going to mention names, but can you tell me, why did you want to work for that outsourcing company?
Well, the main reason was I had a second year matric exam, which is the exam we take for secondary school leaving exam to get to colleges. So after I took that, I have like a 7 or 8 month gap since the results were released. So I was looking for a job as like a summer job. So while I was looking for that, I found like a post on TikTok that says we are hiring teenagers for an outsourcing work. So I was really bummed and I messaged them on Telegram, and they gave me the script, and I like sent a voice message reading that script. And she told me that I passed the voice examination, and she told me that I can go to their office to proceed the next interview. So I was really excited. I tried to dress up professionally, and I went to their office. And I got when I got there, I was amazed by how many teenagers were there to get the job. So after the interview, she told me immediately that I was hired, and I was really happy. I called my mom and told her, "Hey, I got the job that I was telling you about." So that's how I got the job, and I was really happy to work in a group of people who are at my age, and it was an easy environment.
That's such a great story. I don't think I even knew the full story behind it. So that's so great. So I love that. Yeah, basically you finish up your high school exams. I would say similar to what we would say like the SATs are in the US, something similar. And then college is another 7-8 months away. So you have some time. You wanted to get a job. You saw it on TikTok, which is super interesting, the value of TikTok. And it's not just for entertainment, but you're getting jobs that way. And you show up, lots of other teenagers and young people are getting these jobs. So now, again, I know that when you were working for the outsourcing company, they had a client that was a Fortune 500 company. For most people listening, you probably have their app on your phone. I'm not going to say anything more than that. But once you got hired, can you walk me through what kind of training did this company provide so that you were able to start handling customer service for US customers?
Yeah, so we had a training for like a month before getting into the actual job. And what we basically had was how to navigate the software, how to receive orders and, make different adjustments based on the customer's request, and how we can handle calls like a professional, and how to fluently communicate with the customer. So that was the basic course of the training.
So you got a full month of training and then you actually started work. And then obviously we all know that you can learn something in theory, but then once you start doing it, it's like you need to learn more. So then what process did they have in play once you actually started handling customers' requests? How did they make sure that your quality was good?
Well, actually, the training was not enough at all. We were all freaking and panicking. We were like, "Oh, I have a customer. Can somebody help?" So we always have team leads on the floor that assist us and stuff. And our call used to be recorded, and QRs used to listen to that and review some of our calls. And if you're lucky enough, the call that they'll listen is the one that you that you're satisfied with the customer, or if not, they'll listen to a bad call, and that will just decrease your overall performance. So it's just based on luck, to be honest.
Got it. Yep, that makes sense. So you start working. Obviously, it's a little bit panicky once you actually start doing the work, but you have a team lead who's there to answer questions. You have your peers, and then your calls are also getting reviewed. So you have personal feedback so that you can grow and improve. So that is super amazing. I want to, as a personal question, but can you tell me how much you were paid per month?
So the net salary was 5,500 birr.
Okay, so a couple things I want to point out to people. So 5,500 birr is, I'm going to say it's $100 US, but actually it kind of depends on what the currency rate is at that time, but it's about 100. So You're making less than probably $1 an hour, which it was your first job. You're still living at home. You haven't entered college. So probably the most amount of money you've made before. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So first salary, we all start humble beginnings, but you're making $100 a month for this Fortune 500 company. So I want to point out a couple things that at Cradle, our strategy is we're not the first people who hire college students. We are like step two. So once people like college students like Ruthie have gotten this training from Fortune 500 companies, which is actually really good, and they've gotten into the habit of helping customers in the US, then after they've been there for quite some time, then they come to Cradle when they want to make more money. Because as we all know, $100 in Ethiopia per month doesn't do anything anymore.
Yeah.
I know you're shaking your head. Yeah, with the inflation rates, unfortunately, that's not, I would say, not really a livable wage at the moment. So just want to point out, yeah, at Cradle, we pay so much better. It's one of our things that we're most proud about. Yeah. So what I want to ask you is, what made you, or what makes college students your age want to work for an outsourcing company or like a US client instead of pursuing a job locally? And is it easy to get a local job?
Well, that's a good question. It's not easy at all. Not even for college students, but for people who have graduated, it's really hard to find job in Ethiopia or Addis Ababa. And this is because, as you know, like we are mostly focusing our school and most of our time are spent on class activities and stuff like that. So works that are in Ethiopia have an inflexible working schedule, which makes it which we have to sacrifice one of our needs to actually work. So it's really hard to find jobs, and even if we do, they like ask for experience, which we don't have as a college students. That's like why we are even working at the first place. So it's really hard, and finding an outsourcing job will help us like have all the day for us, and we can work at night, which we spend our nights maybe on social medias or talking with friends. So it's just a time that we just spend having some time for us and our friends, you know. So it's really good to change that hours to something that is useful and, you know, get some results off of it.
Yes, that was going to be my next question. So I love what you're saying. So basically it is, I think the statistic is that in general, not just Ethiopia, but in African countries, there needs to be 18 million jobs created every year until 2035 to keep up with like the huge amount of like youth that are entering the workforce. Yeah. So it's not that I think that college students are like, I don't want to work for like an Ethiopian company. It's that like you can't actually find it because the jobs aren't there. And one of the benefits about outsourcing is that there are a lot of these companies that are willing to hire you if you have English and an accent. So you can get a job without some of the previous work experience that other companies would need. And then you started talking about the hours, which is another question I get fielded all the time. So I think I don't know how many time zones are within the African continent, but at the moment, Ethiopia is 7 hours behind. It will be 8 hours behind once our time changes because Ethiopia doesn't change. Yeah. So if people are working 9 to 5 EST in Ethiopian hours, that means that you are logging in at 4 p.m. your time, and then you stop working around midnight. Yeah. Which actually, that's like what I used to do when I was a waitress in college. Like you work the dinner shift and that's how late it goes. Yeah. Maybe it's just, that's just like a common age for younger people to be up. And like you're saying, you would be doing TikTok or something if not. So at least you get paid for being up to midnight now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like it's the best job that a college student or a student in general can ask for because, you know, you can have the day for yourself. You can still do your all schoolworks and everything. And like at nighttime, you'll still have the time for making something useful and, you know, getting money out of it.
Yeah, I think that is the thing. I think Americans think it's like a sacrifice to work night hours. But like you said, that basically means you can wake up at 8 a.m. after getting 8 hours of sleep And then you have from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. totally free to be doing college classes. We get a lot of students, or a lot of our talent is going to grad school during the day. We get a lot of moms because they can stay at home with their baby. And then at night they just like clock in. So I'm happy to hear that you are good with the hours. I know at Cradle, if people aren't okay with the hours, we just plug them into one of our European clients, which aligns closer. But yeah, we have a lot of clients who think that they have to hire from Latin America because of the time zone. And you're basically saying that's not true. And I actually like working in the evening.
Yeah, for sure.
That's so great. And I want to know a couple other things. Like, what do you think what would you like to tell most Americans about Ethiopia, what Ethiopia is like, or why they should hire African talent? What do you I know you watch a lot of movies that are Hollywood movies. So what are some things that you think most Americans probably don't know about Ethiopia?
Well, I would say that we have like an amazing tradition, amazing culture that is like different. We have, as you said, we have like 80 like nation and nationalities, which is like a lot to have as a country in general. So we have different cultures to traditions that are very fascinating. And I mean, I haven't even seen like half of them, but I can assure you that the ones that I see are pretty amazing. And we are really welcoming people. We are really friendly. And we are really respectful for anybody in general. And the one thing that I really want people to know is that we have like an amazing natural herbal medicines ever. And like even my grandma is like an expert with this. And no matter how, like, what kind of it could be any like disease, and she'll go outside and she'll just be back with a bunch of leaves in her hand, and she'll just give them to you, and the next thing you know is you're totally cured. So we have like
that's such a good story. Okay. So I can tell people the back end of this. When I first came to Ethiopia, I would see people with like a dried up green leaf in their nose, and I was like, oh, that's disgusting. And it's an herb called damakasi, and people, you like roll it in your hand till the natural oils come out. You put it in your nose when you have the flu. And I always said, I will never do that. That is so gross. And then one day, I think for 2 weeks I was sick. I just couldn't get over it. And then so your grandma, which is like Alula's mom, my mother-in-law, like made me try it. I swear the next day I was 100% back to normal. It was like the most powerful natural herb. And now I talk about it all the time, but I think it's kind of like how the world knows that Chinese medicinal herbs are really powerful and natural and organic. And so I think there's going to be a lot more business interest in like African traditional medicinal herbs as well. So I'm glad we're spreading that out there.
Yeah.
And also, I know that whenever I had American friends come to visit me when I was living in Ethiopia, I would always take them to your house, and your mom would make them like food and a coffee ceremony. And when Cornell University had partnered up with me so I could lead one of their student groups for a semester, we took them all the Cornell students, we took them to your house. And I think your mom like made it into like their newsletter or their website or something. She's like on the Cornell page. But yeah, no, it just shows you how special like the Ethiopian culture is. One other thing I want to talk about is when you first started at Cradle, some of the first tasks we gave you were to help us with our YouTube channel and Instagram. I just gave you the login and I told you to go for it. And you also handled my LinkedIn messages. And I have to say that we gave you like no training, like under 30 minutes of training, and you just rocked it. Tell me more about, I think one of the benefits of also hiring younger people is that I would say you're more tech savvy or more social media friendly than some. I'm like in my mid 30s. I'm not that old. Okay. Upper 30s, but close enough to mid 30s. Tell me more about how you feel comfortable with like technology and social media and all of that.
Yeah, well, as I said, a lot of teenagers are now looking for an online job and, trade stuff. And like a lot of people are now getting drawn into like more to the technology based on works. So I was really thrilled to have that kind of job. I can still be comfortable. I can still be at home and do something on a platform that I enjoy normally. So like I was really thrilled to navigate through all of the social medias and try to find out things on my own and be creative with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I think if people want social media help, you want to hire young people who are using the platform anyways, because you guys know more of the trends. So that's amazing. Okay. And then final question for you is I want the world to know more about what are your career goals? What do you hope to do someday?
Actually, what I wanted to study originally was to become an audiologist, but apparently that the course is not given in any part of Ethiopia. So the second thing that
let's stop there. Okay, so that's actually really interesting. I do remember you wanting to become an audiologist because that helps with like hearing. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's hearing and balance.
Yeah, and I know you have kind of a passion and a backstory for why you want to do that. So there's no courses in Ethiopia, which is actually sad. I hope that changes. Yeah. But then once you realized that wasn't an option for you, what was your next step?
My next plan was to become a software engineer, which is what my uncle does. And he used to show me.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's so proud of you.
He used to show me some of the basic courses and basic training. So that was the only job that actually I know like a little bit about. The rest, I have no idea what it was. So that was what I felt closest to as a second choice. So that's what I'm trying to get into now.
That's fantastic. Yeah. If anybody doesn't know Alula, he loves software engineering, software development. I think probably all of the nieces will end up in computer science because he's so passionate and like pushes you guys towards that. And I think the statistic is that Ethiopia is actually pushing out more computer science graduates than almost anywhere else in the world, partly because there's so many young people focused on technology and partly because Ethiopia has 110 million people plus. So there's just a lot of volume towards computer science. So that's fantastic. And then we'll have to have you on the podcast again in the future and see how your career trajectory is unfolding. But I am super happy to have you on the Cradle team in the meantime. And then, of course, even happier to have you as family now. So thank you, Ruthie, for joining today. I'm really happy that you came on.
I'm really happy that I get to do this with you as well. And I hope we could do this some other time as well.
100%. Cool. Thank you, Ruthie. For anybody who has other questions about education, English, college in Ethiopia, please let us know. We'll have Ruthie, since she monitors our social media, she can actually respond to you directly herself. But in the meantime, if you're somebody who believes in Ethiopia and the young people, please like this podcast, subscribe to it, and we'll see you on the next episode.